So I want to talk about fasting and psychedelics and why fasting before a mushroom trip, before an LSD trip, before a peyote trip, before any type of psychedelic trip, even a DMT trip, although not as necessary for DMT, but still, fasting before, actually I would even say DMT, fasting for a psychedelic trip, why I think it's one of the key ingredients to a successful trip. And when I say successful trip, have you learned something? You're almost always going to learn something, right? When I say successful trip, it doesn't have to be good and flowery. It has to be, what did I learn? You always learn something about the evolution of your soul, where your soul needs to go next, what you need to do, what are the lessons you need to learn. There's always lessons. You're always going to learn them, even in a bad trip, right? And fasting is one of the key ingredients to that, to ensuring you get the most out of the experience. Fasting is an old age. And when I say, let's redefine fasting here. When I say fasting, I'm talking 16 to 20 hours before a trip, or 24 hours, right? You can go longer if you want, but 16 to 24 is especially if you're early on in your psychedelic experimentation. 16 to 24 hours. That's what I mean when I say fasting before a trip. Although you can fast for a few days before a trip, which the more serious people do that. And when you go to the jungles and do ayahuasca, I don't know, it depends on the retreat, depends on the shaman, but you are going to do some fasting, and sometimes it's a lot more than just 24 hours. The reason for this, fasting, not eating, is an old age trick that many of the self-realized beings like the Buddha, like Jesus, like Muhammad, have used to cleanse themselves, to get closer to spirit, right? It's like an old age trick, man. Like every one of those crazy motherfuckers that went out into the wilderness or did some crazy meditation, came back with some wisdom. The common thing you'll see between them, there's a few things. The one thing in common that you'll see, they all fasted. So fasting is an old age trick to get yourself to be more pure, more connected to source energy, less attached to worldly things, because so as long as you're attached to food, your attachment to this world is more ingrained. You're closer to being attached to this world. And the whole point of having a spiritual experience is to detach from worldly things and get closer to spirit, see what spirit has to teach you, come back here, carry on your mission in the world. I guess come back to your attachments of some sort, right? But the whole point of having a really strong, powerful, profound spiritual experience is to let go of all worldly attachments. And that's what a psychedelic trip does. A psychedelic, dose-dependent, really just pulls the plug on worldly attachments. So it's a deep, profound spiritual experience where you really, really get in touch with who you really are. And fasting is going to enhance that. I'm not saying fasting is a necessary thing to have like a profound psychedelic experience, but I'm saying it will enhance it. It will optimize it, let's say. Fasting cleanses your body, right? It cleanses this temple. Let's use this analogy. If you're someone that goes to a temple, a Buddhist temple, or a Christian church, or a Muslim mosque, do you like to go to a mosque or a church or a temple that's dirty? Or would you like to go to one that's clean, that's shiny, that smells good, that feels good? Where are you going to make the connection better? Are you going to make it better in a dirty church? Are you going to make it better in a clean church? Are you going to make it better in a stinky church? Are you going to make it better in a church that smells really good? Well, in the same way, the fasting cleanses this temple that you're in, cleanses this vehicle that you're in, which allows for the consciousness, for the soul that is inhabiting this vehicle, that is praying inside this temple, to connect to its source in the best way possible. If you don't want to use that analogy, there's the analogy of the vehicle, right? Now look, what's faster, Lamborghini or a Honda Civic? Which is faster, a Lamborghini or a Honda Civic? A Lamborghini is faster. Which has better performance? We're not talking long term here. We're just talking pound to pound right now. I get in the Lamborghini. I get in the Honda Civic. Which is the car with the better performance? It's the Lamborghini, right? The Lamborghini is going to get you far, and it's going to get you fast, right? And it's going to get you attention, and it's going to make you feel better, right? Come on. If you're driving in a Lamborghini, you're going to feel better than driving in a Civic. Okay, so this is the Lamborghini. When you go and meet God, you want to meet God through being in a Lamborghini? Because if you're in a Lamborghini, you'll just cruise your way to God. You'll just, right? Press on the gas pedal, man, and boom, you go up to the heavens and you connect with God. You connect with Source. With a Honda Civic, it's going to take you longer, right? I like Honda Civics. I'm thinking of getting a car. I'll be getting a Honda Civic, so I'm not talking shit here. I'm just saying, would you rather, if you want to connect to God, to Source as fast as possible, would you drive to God with a Lamborghini, or would you drive with a Civic? Right? Now, there's the argument that, okay, but, I'm going to need gas soon and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, no, let's say you have gas. The gas is there. You just want to get there faster, right? I'll get there with a Lamborghini, man. Any day, Lamborghini. So this is, if you can make this a Lamborghini, and this is the Lamborghini, it's gonna just get you to connect with Source as fast as possible, right? Whichever analogy you want to use, but really, that it is what it is. I've tried personally to have psychedelic experiences after eating, literally. Like I ate a big meal and I did it. And then I've tried, which is the most of the other times, while fasted. Okay, honestly, this is just my projection. This is just my experience. If you're fasted and do 2 grams of mushrooms, if you're not fasted and you do 2 grams of mushrooms, the 2 grams while fasted is going to feel like 3 grams. Guarantee you. It's going to feel like 3 grams. The 2 grams when you're not fasted is going to feel like 2 grams. I think most of the times people don't fast before they do mushrooms. So they tell you, okay, for a beginner, do 2 grams, right? Because most people's perception is usually not while in a fasted state. But I'll tell you something, if you're in a fasted state and you're a beginner, go less than 2 grams. Because 2 grams, that's what most people tell you. Most people don't fast before a psychedelic trip. If you're in a fasted state, 1 gram, 1.5 grams might be enough for a first timer, because it will be equivalent to your standard 2 gram dose, because the standard 2 gram dose usually reported by people that don't fast before a psychedelic trip. And from my experience, fasting versus not fasting, it's the same thing with drinking coffee. Try to drink coffee on an empty stomach and try drinking coffee later on after you've had like a big breakfast. Yeah, you're gonna feel a big difference. It's gonna hit you. It's a big difference, man. If you're a sensitive person, it's a big difference. In the same way, if you want the psychedelic to hit you, to really hit you, do it in a fasted state. It's gonna hit you harder, but also not only is it gonna hit you harder, your vehicle, your temple is cleaner. That's what we talk about in these analogies, right? It's cleaner. There's less toxins. There's less brain fog. There is less conflict in your body, right? Fasting gets rid of all these conflicts, pain, right? Inflammation. Your gut's inflamed, your sinuses are inflamed, and your nose is clogged. You got a headache, so you got inflammation in your head. You got neck tension and stuff like that, right? Well, the fasting is a remedy for that, right? The fasting gets rid of all these conflicts, sets harmony in your body. And that's what love is. Love is harmony. And if we want to connect to the source, which is love, then we want to be as harmonious as we can possibly here. And fasting is one of the best ways to do that. I would personally, what I do now, if I'm about to have a major psychedelic trip, I fast every day for 20 to 24 hours for an entire week. I go through a cleansing phase. I make sure I'm eating like a nun. I'm eating like a saint. A week in advance. Nothing junk, nothing even remotely threatening to my gut health is going to enter my system. And I'm fasting every day for 20 to 24 hours. I'm eating once, twice a day for an entire week. I make sure I eat like a nun. And this is one of the reasons why I've managed to really almost always have a really fucking good trip. Because of the precautions that I take before the trip. One of them being fasting and really eating very clean and very healthy. I'm not saying I haven't had bad trips. I did have bad trips. And the both times that I had bad trips, I didn't do the fasting preparation. That was one of the things that was missing from it. Is I didn't do the fasting preparation. I didn't do the food preparation. And that was like a big missing piece for those two trips. I'm not saying they caused it. No, there was other things, other emotions, other factors. But I'm saying I haven't done that preparation. That was one of the reasons. Not the primary reason, but one of the reasons. So I highly recommend, if you are about to get into psychedelics, if you've gotten into psychedelics, whatever you are in the journey of experimenting with these medicines, fast for 16 to 24 hours. Now, before I finish the video, what I will be doing come June is I will be doing, and this will be exciting for this channel, right? I'll be doing a 5-day fast where I take LSD and mushrooms for every day of those 5 days. So that will be very interesting to see how, because I will be reporting it every day, live in video. So I want to combine the power, the ancient power of fasting for spiritual connection with psychedelics, and I'm very interested to see what's gonna happen. That's it. God bless you all, guys. Please, please, please use psychedelics responsibly. I make this video, I make these videos to educate, to share experiences, and honestly, one of the things to prevent harm, to reduce the likelihood of a bad trip, of something, not good happening, is fasting. So this is why I make these videos, for you guys to increase the awareness and use these things responsibly. Don't just go out there and eat up LSD and mushrooms. No, prepare, take precautions, preparations are necessary. Fast, eat really healthy. That's one of the key things to do to prepare, okay? So that's it. I love you guys. I love every single one of you, but don't forget to subscribe or you're gonna sleep with the fishes.